All right, today we are cracking open the single most famous ethical hacking toolbox in the world, the Metasploit Framework. We're going to see exactly how it works, what makes it so incredibly powerful, and how it's used by the pros to test the defenses of pretty much any system you can think of. And look, that quote is not just hype. For anyone in cybersecurity, Metasploit is basically the gold standard. It's this amazing engine that takes the incredibly complex process of finding and exploiting weaknesses and makes it, well, almost easy. So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to follow the entire attacker's journey, step by step. First, we'll look at the tools themselves. Then we'll build a safe lab to practice in. After that, it's all about scouting a target, launching an actual attack, and finally, seeing what it means to truly own a system. So what's the secret sauce here? What makes Metasploit so special? Well, it's not just one tool, it's a framework. It's built on this brilliant modular design, which is just a fancy way of saying it's a massive collection of pre-made code, scanners, exploits, payloads that you can mix and match. It saves security pros from having to build everything from scratch for every single test. Honestly, the best way to picture it is like a huge, perfectly organized digital toolbox. But instead of hammers and wrenches, it's packed with thousands of tools designed for every single stage of a security test. And the best part? They all just work together perfectly. First up, you've got your exploits. These are the sharp end of the spear. This is the actual code that targets a very specific bug or a misconfiguration to get you inside a system. So if a vulnerability is a locked door, the exploit is the custom-built lockpick designed to pop it open. Okay, so the exploit got you through the door. Now what? You need to actually do something. That's where the payload comes in. The payload is the code that you send through that open door. It could be something super simple, like just opening up a command prompt, or it could be something way more advanced, giving you a full-on remote control session. Now, not every tool in the box is about breaking and entering. You've also got auxiliary modules. Think of these as your scouts. They're your scanners, your info gatherers, your vulnerability checkers. They let you poke and prod a target safely, gathering intelligence without actually launching an attack. This table here kind of shows you the whole shebang. So beyond the big three we just talked about, you have post modules for everything you do after you get in. You have encoders and evasion modules, which are super cool. They help you disguise your attack to sneak past antivirus software. And NOPs, which stands for no operation, are basically just little bits of padding that make sure your payload runs smoothly without crashing. It really is a complete system for offense. Okay, with tools this powerful, we have to talk about something crucial. Practicing on systems you don't own is completely illegal and unethical. Full stop. That's why the absolute first rule of learning this stuff is to build yourself a safe, totally isolated lab. So let's walk through how to do that. I'm going to say this again because it really matters. Every single command we show from this point on is for educational purposes only, and it's being done inside a private virtual lab. Using these tools on networks or systems you don't have explicit permission to test is a serious crime. Please be responsible. The good news is, setting up a lab is actually pretty easy. You just need 2 virtual machines. Your attacker machine is going to be Kali Linux, which comes preloaded with Metasploit and tons of other security tools. And your target is going to be Metasploitable 2, which is an operating system that was intentionally built to be full of security holes, just for practice. You connect them on their own little private network, and boom, you've got a safe sandbox where you can hack away without breaking any laws. Okay, lab's up and running. We've got our attacker machine and our victim machine. Now, the first phase in any real-world penetration test is reconnaissance. You have to know your target before you can even think about attacking it. Information is absolutely everything. For that initial scan, pretty much every professional is going to reach for a tool called Nmap. It's just faster and way more flexible for getting that first big picture view of the network. Once Nmap finds something interesting, like an open port, then you can go back to Metasploit and use its auxiliary modules to do a much deeper, more focused dive on that specific service. So let's see this in action. We run a quick Nmap scan on our target machine and bam, we get a hit. Port 21 is open and it's running an FTP service. But here's the magic part, the critical piece of intel. Nmap tells us the exact version, vsFTPd 2.3.4. That little number right there, that's our golden ticket. That's the key to the whole kingdom. And that discovery just sets us up perfectly. We've used an outside tool to gather our intel, and now we're going to take that juicy little piece of information back into the Metasploit framework to find our weapon of choice. All right, homework's done. We've got a target, we've got a specific service, and we've got that all-important version number. Now it's time to shift gears from scouting to exploitation. Let's launch the attack. So for our first case study, we're going right after that vsFTPd server we found. This specific version has a famous backdoor that an attacker slipped into the source code way back in 2011. It's the perfect training dummy for us. Now check out how clean and simple this is inside Metasploit. First, we just search for our target, vsFTP. Metasploit instantly finds the perfect exploit module for it. We tell it to use that module. Then we set our hosts, which just means remote host. We're just telling Metasploit where to aim. And then we just type exploit. That's it. And just like that, we're in. A command shell just pops open. Metasploit found the backdoor, triggered it, and gave us a direct line to the system. To see what level of access we have, we run the command, who am I? The response, root. That's the holy grail. That is the highest level of access you can possibly get. The system is completely ours. Okay, so that was a classic backdoor. But what about something a little more legendary? Let's talk about EternalBlue. This is the infamous NSA-developed exploit that was leaked and went on to power massive attacks like the WannaCry ransomware worm. And this is what is absolutely wild about Metasploit. For an exploit as insanely complex as EternalBlue, I mean, we're talking about a nation-state level cyber weapon. The process inside the framework is exactly the same. You search for it, you load it, you set the target, and you type exploit. The framework handles all of the mind-bendingly complex stuff in the background. It takes a world-class weapon and packages it into 4 simple commands. Getting that first shell is a huge win, but it's really not the end of the story. A real attacker doesn't just want to get in. They want to stay in, they want to gather more information, and they want to move even deeper into the network. This is what we call post-exploitation. And for this phase, Metasploit has an absolute powerhouse of a payload called Meterpreter. This thing is so much more than a simple command line. Meterpreter is this advanced, stealthy agent that runs entirely in the victim's memory, and it comes with a huge library of built-in commands designed specifically for post-exploitation. It is the payload of choice for any serious work. And the stuff you can do with it is just insane. A single command, #dump, and you can steal the password hashes for every single user on the machine. Screenshot lets you see exactly what's on the user's desktop in real time. To stay hidden, you can migrate your process into something that looks totally normal, like Windows Explorer. And when you're all done, ClearAv can wipe the event logs, erasing all evidence that you were ever there. This isn't just access anymore, this is total stealthy control. So we just went from zero to full system compromise. And we did it all within one single framework. The speed and the simplicity of it all really drives home a critical lesson. If you want to build a strong defense, you first have to understand the offense. We've just shown you the attacker's playbook, so the real question is, how are you going to build the walls to keep them out?